Hey, sweet people, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the Sweetspot podcast. I'm your host, Marc Suess, and today I'm talking to in-house marketing expert Kasper Sierslev. I talked to Kasper not only about marketing and in-house marketing strategies, even though we covered the business and the strategy side of it, we also talked about creativity in general, about him as a musician, as an illustrator, as a designer, and also his creative approach on how he builds teams, how he structures them, and what really helps to foster creativity within your own teams. We touched how business and marketing and brand communication changed over the last years, and now with all the channels, the technology, AI, social media, how the landscape looks today and what challenges your team is probably facing. All of this and much more makes it not only an episode for marketing and design buffs, but also for all entrepreneurs out there that want to know how to communicate their brand in today's market, what strategies you can use, how you motivate your team, how you can get your team to work at a creative peak. So it's worth listening in. Before we start the episode and the interview with Kasper, some news from the Sweetspot studio. As you know from the last episode, I got into this new place a couple of weeks ago, and it's really starting to take off. We are hosting amazing live experiences here in the gallery and atelier space, and right next room we have live concerts, we have improv things, we have gallery show openings, and here in the studio space we're not only doing video and podcast production, but also one-on-one coaching and team workshops. My experience is that, especially after the last years with Corona, with a lot of home office, with a lot of like this, video calls and conferences, people have a big longing for real life experiences, real exchange with people, face to face, being in a room together and working on things without any distraction, without the layer of technology in between each other. And this is what I feel when I host these events. People are exciting. There's a good energy going on. There are a lot of creative things happening right now. So if you're in Germany and you're looking for a place to have a team event, a creativity event, if you want to rediscover your entrepreneurial purpose, or if you want to get your team to perform better creatively, check out my website, check out the space. Maybe I can help you with an experience. Enough of that, sweet people, let's dive into the interview with Kasper. We really touch on so much about brand communication, strategy, how you work with agencies and third-party service providers, platforms, how you foster creativity within your own team. And also he talks a lot about his own creative journey. It's a gem. Enjoy Kasper Sierslev.
Welcome to the Sweet Side. This is the Sweetspot podcast with Marc Suess, investigating entrepreneurship, purpose, and the creative life.
Kasper, nice to have you here. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to meet you. I'm glad to be here. I'm looking forward to have a talk with you.
Thank you so
how are
much.
you?
I'm doing very good. As you can see, I just landed in the new studio space. So everything is going great. Very excited. I see you have a beautiful background with some music, some instruments. I can relate. Where are you located right now?
I'm located in Copenhagen. In Denmark. So that's where I live. But we run advertising agencies, in-house advertising agencies, and they are naturally placed in-house with our customers. So I'm also located a lot of the time in my car, driving around the different places. But that's fine. I mean, it's a big it's a big van, so I can have the meetings in the background in the back when I'm driving. So.
That's very cool. Yeah. I think a lot of people, especially listeners from the US, can relate to part-time living in your car. But actually, I love Copenhagen. It's one of my favorite cities in Europe. I've been there so often. I really love it, especially in the autumn right now. Let me remember. there's this one place, I think I even noted it. Yes, there's this amazing restaurant in Vertebro or something. It's called War Pigs. It's in the old meat district. I don't know if you know that place.
Yeah.
It has everything. It plays rock and roll. It serves great meat dishes. It's like the perfect place. I really
great beer, great barbecue food, and
I need to
it's nice.
Come visit Copenhagen again soon. Okay, but talking about it, you recently, before we talk about your agency work, which I'm very interested in, and your moving in-house book, I want to start with a more recent project. You recently released an amazing illustrated city guide about Copenhagen. To be exact, it's the big, entirely subjective, and to be fair, a bit biased illustrated guide to Copenhagen. This man came prepared. I love this thing. I don't have it as a physical copy yet. I browsed it online.
I'll give it to you once you're here. Then we can meet up and have some beer and barbecue.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a fun project, but it's also kind of a stupid project, because I was actually writing the other book, the whole Inhouse book, and I came to a difficult chapter about structure and workflows and so on, and then I said, I'll just go outside and I'll bring my small notebook and I'll just clear my thoughts, and I started drawing something, and then one thing led to another, and then I had like 10 drawings when I went home. I hadn't written a word about the workflows and processes and so on. I kind of had it in my mind, I just didn't put any words to it. And then I went home and thought this was a fun project to do. Maybe I should do something about it. And I remembered when I was working at Maersk, this big container shipping company, we often got visitors from abroad coming in and asking, what should we see in Copenhagen? And they all want to see The Little Mermaid, which is really boring.
It's really little, to be fair.
Yeah, it's really, there's nothing there. So they want to see the more, Copenhagener secrets and so on. So it was kind of a combination of that. I said, maybe I should just do a small guides book, something. And then I started writing the same night, something, and was pretty excited. I did 20 pages or something like that. And I sent it over to a friend and say, look, I did this secret Copenhagen guide. And I said, yeah, that's really nice, but you did the Royal Palace and the Opera House and the famous churches and so on. It's not really secrets what you did. So then I said, okay, then I'll add some more. So, but it's kind of a weird part-time project that I just do whenever I need to relax the brain. Then I just go out and draw something and write about it. So it's an ever-evolving book.
That's a really pro move there, to procrastinate and turn it into a freaking cool book. That's really hats off to you. That's really cool.
It is a weird thing to do. I did write the other chapter the other week, the week after or something like that. So I did.
Other book. So
I finished it. So yeah.
You know what? I had to think about this because both as designers, I remembered this little story I heard once studying design, and I want to know if you're familiar with it. It's this ancient history of card makers and illustrators of maps, map makers, and so back then you didn't have any copyright or something. So a lot of map makers started drawing in little fake alleys or dead end streets that didn't really exist, and it was kind of their hidden copyright.
I think is it called paper towns or something like that?
I think so. Yeah, you heard of it.
Yeah.
So of course I wanted and for all the listeners who are not familiar with it. So basically there was their their watermark. So if any other map makers copied that card, that city map, whatever it is, and they draw in the wrong street, the original map maker knew, okay, this is a ripoff. This is a copy of my map. So of course, since you're familiar with it, I wondered, did you come up with anything like that? Did you watermark anything? Did you come up with something fake, or is it all true?
No, I think it's all true. It is very biased. So I kind of say, I name the places that I like to go. I'm pretty honest about, The Little Mermaid, that I think maybe, it's not a big detour. Go see it and then check the box. But so no, I don't think I have any paper towns or paper buildings in the book, but as such. Not yet, but maybe there will be in the next version.
Okay, but to close off this chapter, for all the sweet people listening, what's your top 3 right now in Copenhagen that people should definitely come and see?
Oh, that's a good question. It's so I mean, right now, and I'm biased, but that's also in the book. I would go see Bakken, which is the world's oldest amusement park. So it's located a bit north of Copenhagen. I'm in the board there, so I am biased, and I have to say this. But right now, it actually has a pretty cool Halloween theme going on with a scary ride and so on. So that's one thing I would do, and I'm going there this week. What else would I see? I mean, I just like to walk around and stop at places, and there are so many places I haven't seen. Keeps popping up. It's very it's developing a lot the last 10-15 years, Copenhagen. So that's a good question.
Do you maybe have a good live music venue?
We in the summer we have something called Syd for Solen, which means south of the sun, which is just 3 days in a park, and every day is different. So sometimes it's more indie, sometimes it's more electronically and so on. But it's in a park in the city, so that's really nice.
I love that.
It's really close by, so
that's cool.
I like that.
Perfect. So we can only invite sweet people to come there and check out beautiful Copenhagen. I love it. And get the biased tour guide. I love it. Show it again, please. It's so beautiful.
I have
Show
it
us one more time. Oh boy. Yeah. Guys, you have to check out the illustration. It's really amazing.
It's all small illustrations and
really stuff. Lovely. Appreciate it.
Okay. Just bought it here so I could bring it out if we ever had to talk about it. Or maybe it's just because you can't see, but it's really messy around me. So
you set up the camera perfectly. No one can tell.
Yeah.
It looks very tidy. Okay, but of course, I want to talk to you mostly about your profession and your agency and this big mission you're on to help companies build in-house marketing teams. To give a little context, you've been helping organizations set up in-house social media management, content marketing, branding, marketing teams for the last 15 years, if I read that right.
Yeah, I think so. So I officially started at Maersk in 2012, I think. Something like that. And then of course, a bit before that. And that's where I started building in-house creative agencies.
Yeah.
And then I kind of realized that, it's a lot like jazz.
Yeah.
It's a lot, if you know the standards, if you know the basic 40 or 50 normal tunes you would play, you can jam along those lines, but you know how to fall back into the song again. And so I shifted from Maersk to Saxo Bank, which is an online trading platform, something completely different, and then to George Jensen, which is jewelry and home decor and something like that. So the product was very different. The way of telling stories was very different, but the ways of working, the swim lane, so to speak, the methodology was exactly the same. So it doesn't really change how you create a plan for social media, how you activate it, how you run with, we call it learning loops. So you keep looking at the data. You have a hypothesis of something you want to test, and then you get it back. All that is pretty much the same. It's just the front load, the idea, the design, of course, is different. And that's kind of what, set me on this track of building these in-house agencies and helping other companies do it themselves.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been all over the place. Maybe we can go back a little bit on, I would say this is your sweet spot, so to speak, that skill, that mission you're on. But I'm always very interested how that came to be. What's your story before? I mean, you've been working in brand agencies and a lot of different companies. Maybe you can take us with you a little bit how that idea evolved, because maybe if I can just add that, I run a design studio, so I'm very excited about this. I think I can learn a lot by this, because I'm not an agency, but still it's something that I thought about a lot, because sometimes I'm a sparringspartner for my clients and everything, but a lot of time it's exactly that. I also had that thought, you need to be up to speed today, and you need to have some talent and some skill in-house. So I just wondered how that journey was for you.
Yeah, so I mean, I started out pretty normally, I would say, working at advertising agencies in mostly Denmark, but with some international clients, and that was fun. I mean, I like that. But also at the end of it, I came to a stage, I would say, I don't know, in my career or the agency I was in, where we were the A team. So we were brought in to come up with the idea, present, win the pitch, and then we were on to the next thing. Yeah. And I kind of always had the feeling that, when you work a bit longer with something, you find out, and the really good ideas are not normally they are, but I also think some of the good ideas are in the outer spheres of the creative idea. It's not necessarily the film or the main campaign, but it's also doing something fun outdoor or on a banner or something like that. And we were always just moved on to the next thing. So I wanted to have an opportunity to follow things through and actually see things. When you always hand it over, I was just missing the opportunity to see how could we do something creative with the display banners, or could we do something creative on the website as well. So that was kind of the thing that led me to move on. I had a small company also myself, very small. It's just me actually, building apps because I had this idea that you could have an onboarding app when you started in a new company. So that was completely different. I was designing, but I was also selling. And I kind of also got tired of the selling part in advertising. You always have to be out there getting new customers, winning pitches, and so on. I would like to just, try to focus on the work. So that's how I started on, moved in-house. I was very lucky to get an opportunity at Maersk. Somebody I knew was working there, and they said, "Oh, they got this new head of marketing. She's looking for something new." And I just met her for coffee, and she said, "Yeah, can you start on Monday?" So, I think I started on Friday. I had to close down some things, but that was basically it. Off, yeah. So the first part was very traditional advertising. I just missed that opportunity to work on the bigger picture. And then I kind of realized when I was, I think maybe in my first week at Maersk or the second one, they had this onboarding program where you had to travel around to see the different, not all the offices obviously, but a lot of different offices, and see how this thing is working. So you're not just stuck in the headquarters in a nice office. And I went to India, and I just realized they were doing the same stuff as we were doing. And they were doing the same stuff as I saw they did in Egypt, and that they did in the US. And I said, okay, there's got to be a way that we can do this better, so we're not all spending the money on different agencies, and instead pulling through on maybe some bigger things, and then do a production company at least. And that's how I started. I came home and I said, I think we should do some in-house. And she said, yeah, let's do that. There are some people in Manila. Go see if you can use any of those. And so I went to the Philippines and set up a team. And then it kind of rolled, and when I had done the third agency, so I went to Saxo Bank, I went at George Jensen. I thought, this is maybe what I do. So I wrote a book about it, the one that I was actually missing when I started out, because I didn't know anyone. So I made a lot of mistakes the first time, a few less mistakes the next time. And at George Jensen, I think I did not that many mistakes. So
Okay.
And then I
that's
started
amazing.
helping out.
But,
Yeah.
maybe you can help us with because I always wanna explore the creative and the entrepreneurial side of this journey. So if I get that right, you started as a coworker or a freelancer, and you went to 2 or 3 companies and implemented your idea, right?
Yeah, no, I was actually hired in. So
Okay,
I was
cool.
the head of creative at Maersk. And then I think after George Jensen, I was more, myself, just my own company, working with companies, help setting it up. There's also a lot of tool, having a platform where people can brief in and you can have that overview of things. So the last years before I joined this site company, which had a different name at the time. I was just myself, and then I was actually debating with my partner. We were set up to battle each other on in-house or external agencies, and we kind of figured out that we agreed on most things. So that's how we started out.
Okay. Perfect. And I mean, now today you're at the Zeit agency, and you specialize in analyzing, setting up, and running in-house marketing and creative teams.
Yeah,
that's exciting. And I think also this is where is this where the book originated? You co-wrote it with Per Brandholt, if I say his name correctly.
Yeah, it's correct.
Yeah. So when did you start capturing it into a book? And also, to me today, it's super interesting why you chose the form of a book. Maybe first of all, you could have done a podcast series or videos or whatever. It's interesting to choose a book. I mean, that's kind of the game that you saw, but
so the first book actually, I couldn't have written it better, like a film script. It was just like, I wanted to have more work as a consultant, just me. And I sat down and I talked to some friends and said, how do you become that kind of expert? And you said, you write a book. And I said, okay, well, how hard can it be?
Okay.
It's pretty difficult, actually. So it was kind of the same, because it worked. I mean, the day it came out, I published something on LinkedIn and somebody said, oh, great. Can you come help us with our setup? So, I mean, that's how you write the script for something like that.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah, it's really the textbook of being the expert on something. That's writing the book. So we just followed up on that. We since we're both driving a lot towards these different agencies, we had a lot of conversations in a car.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the same car, driving different places, but on the phone. And we agreed that we should do this, try to put our thoughts together, because how often do you have like we did, I think we were very lucky to have an opportunity to start thinking about something and say, this is the kind of agency we want to build. We want to build something new, not a traditional advertising agency. And I also experienced Inhouse had a lot of pitfalls in terms of not being creative enough, also being a bit slow sometimes, having difficulty to scale. So we just talked about all the things that we said, okay, if we're going to build an agency or something, whatever it is we're building, let's talk about all these issues with each model. So we like Inhouse, being close to the product, knowing the brand, and being really, really fast and agile and so on, and being able to turn things around quick. But we also see that external agencies, they can be more creative. They can, they can scale up faster when you have peak periods or new things coming in. So that's kind of that. It started out in the car, the book, and we started basically putting up posters saying, okay, I want to write this chapter about this, and I want to write about that, and so on.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, yeah. That's very interesting, because I mean, I wrote parts of the book. I didn't read the entire thing, but to me, it's super interesting if I think about it now, and I mean, it seems so obvious. The whole landscape of media, advertising, marketing is changing super quickly. So you also have to keep up, and you have to be fast and change also a lot of things. And just love this idea of turning it around. So I just wondered if people listen to this right now, companies, and they think, oh my God, it's so much. It happens so fast. How can is it even possible for me to build an in-house marketing team? Maybe you can guide us a little bit through the whole process, or tell us about a case you had. Maybe is that possible for any client, industry, company?
I mean, it depends on the size, but I think you should always do the math, do the business case, and look at where are we spending our money. I mean, I worked on a traditional advertising agency, and we tried to sell the whole house every time, even though people came for the creativity, and then I'm probably going to lose some friends here, but then we tried to sell them everything all the way through production, and we weren't really good at the production part, to be honest. And I don't think a lot of agencies are. They're always something. Yep. So what I mean, that's the whole title of the win house, is that you should still buy the best ideas from external people, because they are probably better at getting that. They're getting all this new input. They work with different clients all the time and getting new inspiration, and they have creative people. It's really difficult to get the creative people to work, somewhere in a suburb in a big industrial block or something like that. But when you get to the day-to-day creative, the content, the production, where you need to turn things around fast and so on, it makes a lot of sense to bring it in. And then if you're really big, it also makes a lot of sense to move it out to offshore production in Vietnam or Bangladesh or South Africa, wherever you can find these big production houses. Yep. Or look at tooling. I mean, look at AI at the moment and so on.
Yeah.
So I think everybody could do it, but it's really looking at the numbers and say, where are we spending the money? What are we getting? Does it make sense to hire, or does it make sense to hire in freelance or on a weekly basis? Yeah. But one of the things I really like, and I think this is the story we talked about earlier, is the ability to do something else with the brief. So sometimes you get a brief for something, and then if you're an external agency, you will solve that problem. That's what you're hired in to do. But sometimes when you work closely within the company itself, you can see that this problem is not really the problem that's the real problem. There's always some kind of human problem behind the business problem or something like that. And the story I think I told you earlier was from when I was at George Jensen, and we were actually called up to the e-commerce team, and they said, you need to change the color on the buy button because people are not buying. And we said, oh, it was a bit Scandinavian clean-ish in the design. So, I mean, it's not impossible that they got a point, but still. But so we sat down and said, it can't be right. We let's look at some data. Let's look at how people are, going through the page and so on. And we realized straight away that you could see for some of them, because they logged in, that these were men, and they were really fast. They found the shop, they scrolled down, found the ring, went to the product page, clicked buy. They didn't have a problem at all by finding that buy button. And then they clicked buy again and buy again. And then they realized the small drop down on top of it where they had to choose the ring size. And then they, you clicked on that and they get 13 different ring sizes. And
then you're lost.
And then, then you're lost. The mouse went blank and, everything is they just shut down. Yeah. So what we figured out was we had to do something else. So we built a small, I would say an app, but it's actually a website that's where you could borrow a ring from your loved one and just put it on the screen and see what size it was. Nice. And it solved the problem really, really simple. It wasn't expensive to build or anything. I think the most expensive part was us going around in stores, making sure that the screen size were correct in our measurement. And the best part was that the content that came from that, we didn't plan a campaign because it wasn't in the big plan. I mean, it was just something we thought could solve a problem. So we just did a small, a photo shoot of a guy putting a ring there, and there's something, but we did it ourselves. And then it just started spreading. in Denmark and Sweden and so on, where people said, "Oh, look, John, there's something here for you." So it was the wives tagging their husbands and fiancés and friends and so on. And I actually think that's a really nice way of looking at Inhouse, being able to talk to each other, say, is this really the problem that we're trying to solve, or is there something else? Yeah. It's not that we don't want to change the color. It's just, are we sure that's it? And challenge it a bit. And of course, you can do that as an external agency, but
you probably can't
just
afford
don't
it as a company. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the. It's just an anecdote, but I mean, I kind of
nice.
of how we looked at things differently because we were sitting next to the people working, and we could get the data because we were just there. We say, okay, just show me what's wrong, and
100%. And I think that's not even. I don't think that's advertising bashing or anything, because. By the way, they wouldn't probably listen to this podcast anyway, because we are very critical about basically any form of, we're very interested in how creative processes work, what you can do in-house, what you need experts for. And I mean, I have an agency background as well, and I hear you completely. And if you sell websites, whatever client is going to come to you, the solution is probably going to be your website. So, but that's just the agency game. That's fair enough. That's their business model.
But I mean, that's what they do. Yeah,
100%.
So,
and it's fun, and they take you for a ride, but sometimes I call it a creative one-night stand, because they do the big explosions and fireworks and everything, but then they have to move on, like you with the A-team creative. Yeah. So, this is a really interesting point, I think, for all entrepreneurs and companies listening to challenge this. So maybe, I mean, they definitely should buy your book and go into detail, but maybe just as a little teaser, what are the first steps to check for yourself? Where can I start this process? I mean, let alone in thinking or planning, where should I start thinking about this?
Well, I mean, we do this report every year called the Inhouse Barometer, where we look at Europe and where are companies, what kind of roles are they bringing in, and so on. And one of the things that seems to surprise me every year, now it's the third year in a row we do it, is how few people who have actually looked at the numbers. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying in-house is the best. I'm not saying externally agencies are the best. It's just you have to look at the numbers. You have to look at where are you spending your money. Is it freelancers working 100% for you? Then they are too expensive. I can tell you that. Is it buying everything from the same agency because it's easy? Then you're spending your money wrong. So I would say the first part would just be looking at the numbers. The next thing so we do these four things with our company. So the first two are like consultancy tasks, and we told a lot of companies that they shouldn't go with us. They should keep doing what they're doing, or they should look at this. So that's the analytic part where we just look at their vendor spend. So how many different agencies. There's probably too. If there are too many agencies, you're also spending too much time on project management and managing one agency up against the other one.
Yeah.
The next would be looking at your workflows. One of the things that we could see in the report, I also have that one apparently here, is the big issues with in-house teams is that they don't have the time to be creative. They get swamped in meetings. They are involved in too much. Like in an agency, you're really, it's a bad business running an agency, right? You only, you sell time, and it's really difficult to. So an agency, they're really good at only bringing people in when they need them. So, the big creative guys, they're in for the ideas and for the selling, and then they're out and you get the cheaper ones and, and so on. And there's something you should learn from that. And that's really, looking at the whole processes of doing things, get a thing in, making sure the idea is that you just look at the idea. I have this rule saying black pen and black ink, white paper or something like that. Yeah. So when you do an idea, just draw it. It sounds, I know it sounds like the 60s or 80s or something like that,
100%.
But I mean, if you can draw an idea and people think it's funny or good, it's probably also will be good when you bring in the cameras and AI and stuff. So look at the idea and then move on and kind of close that gate. Yeah. Say now we go from idea phase to production to creative production phase. Then we move on to the scalable phase or something like that. So that's the next thing we always tell people to look at. That's the workflows, the roles and responsibilities. Are there too many people managing each other? That also seems like a waste of time.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sounds very boring, but the fun thing about that is that it frees up time for the creativity. It frees up time for being creative when you stop doing all the revisions because you change a headline once you put it on, I don't know, 11 banners, different sizes and so on. Then you spend your time wrong. So I mean, in that way, we are agency brought up, so we track time and measure, how we are working on how many revision rounds and so on, just to prove that we are wrong when we are editing things too late. And then focus on the creativity because it does work. I mean, creative marketing, and it's not necessarily a clever headline or it's always something new. But and then that's one of the things that's difficult with Inhouse is that you kind of get complacent. You just put things in the same boxes and you do the same thing all the time. So you could still bring in people to work with and have ideas. Just ask them for their brain and not for the computer skills or.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, because that leads me to my question. I thought about this and. I think, to me, one of the determinant factors would be what skills do you have in-house, and what do you think what do you need to source out to someone? Yeah. What do you have in-house? What can you maybe hire in-house? And because I mean the whole, as you said, the whole landscape has changed. I mean, most of old school agencies, they were working on the big campaigns, the big Super Bowl 30-second, 60-second spots, whatever it was. But that's like the old school classic agency business. And nowadays it's more like always on social media, storytelling, content marketing. It's basically like every day, and especially you need to respond also very quick. So to me, the shift I feel the most is it's less like doing one blockbuster thing, even though if we listen to Anita Albasi and stuff like that, Blockbuster Business, her great book, that's something else. But it's not like this one advertising clue per quarter, per half a year or something that's going to save it. It's like an everyday battle or an everyday challenge. So it's more like editorial work and more like storytelling work. So is there anything do you have tips for in-house creative teams or in-house skills that people need for that, and how can they train it?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few things. Actually, at Saxo Bank, we actually started out like that. We did this really big commercial. We spent 3 months planning and shooting and everything, and we were really tired. And it's on, it's live, it's on. Pop the champagne And then one weekend they came and say, "Oh yeah, there's Wear Out now. People have seen it like 6 times. What's next?" And we said, "I don't know. I can tell you in 3 months' time again." So, and that kind of shifted the way that we worked. So instead of shooting one big thing, we shot a lot of different things. So still kind of, that was the first step for me. It was still kind of advertising-ish, but we shot a lot of things with smaller scenes and saying, okay, now we're shooting on a metro station. How many different films can we actually do if the the roadblock? We worked a lot with roadblocks and say, okay, it has to be funny within 3 seconds. It has to be something that works across languages without speak or something like that. Yeah. And here we did something. We said, so this was an online training platform. So we shot things with a green screen paper where we could change the headlines, a green screen TV in a fitness room or something like that. And it was just like, we said, it's not the best advertising idea ever, but it worked really well for being responsive, so to speak. So you said, okay, something is happening. the guy's running on the treadmill, something's happening, I don't know, French election, you need to trade, and he took up his phone, also green screen. So we could change everything within an hour or so. And we came back with 26 different films from that 2 or 3 day shoot. Yeah. So that was the first step. That was actually trying to plan for the unexpected.
Yeah.
The next thing, I keep kind of work on in that way. So bring a still photographer, whenever you're shooting something, kind of say, if we turn the camera 30 degrees, it would look different. Can we do something here? Now we have some actors or some extras. Can we use them? So that was one way of doing it. Still in the advertising world. At George Jensen, we were very lucky to have, the whole house was the heritage. So on the top floor, we had the archive with original drawings and models and so on from George Jensen, the original silversmith himself, going 100 years back and so on, and all other designers. And in the basement or ground floor, we had a smithy where we had 20 silversmiths working on stuff. So we could, it was so lucky to just bring your iPhone and shoot something in slow motion, and it looked great. And George Jensen works in a way like I think a lot of companies that, they had to sell everything in the last 3 months because that's kind of going up to Christmas. That's where you buy the Christmas gifts. So the rest of the year, we didn't have any content as such. So we kind of invented our own problems and our own way of doing it. So we went up and say, okay, let's find something strange in the archive, something that's, either gone where we only have the drawings or something where, this has only been done once or something like that, and we don't know where it is. So we found something, and then we documented the whole process. We didn't know where it would go. Of course, we had an idea that in the end, we would end up with a product. But the idea was also to show all the obstacles, all the mistakes we made, trying to build it in 3D and see how do we do this? How can we? And then we just made content out of that every week. And what worked really well was to do it in bulks. So, instead of doing a new post every day and you have to take out an hour or 30 minutes every day to come up with something, then actually do 1 week where you just work on the next 3 months or something like that content. That makes a lot of sense. It's a lot easier to do 10 posts in 2 hours than to do one post in 10 minutes every day. And it was really simple. It was just me and graphic designer, basically. And then we're just running around asking different people in the house. So very, very low key, just shooting it ourselves, editing ourselves, and put it up there as something. And the funny thing was that when we did these big silver pieces, they cost a lot. People would see the film and they would say, they would comment something like, now I know why it's so expensive. And they went on to buy the more steel products that's, made in that's made in China or something like that. So it was very easy. And also because we worked in-house, we had the platform, so we could build the pages that we wanted to have, and we could build the journey. So, you have the storytelling piece, you had the archive piece and so on, and you could click on to almost buy not that product, but a similar product.
And this comes down, what you're telling is, I think, a fundamental change in the role of the creative, because what you described is no longer the satellite agency transmitting some zeitgeist ideas onto the brand, but it's really, you have an in-house director, editor. It's a very different way to think and create ideas, I think.
I think so too. So we kind of built this very simple brand house where we had like 3 pillars saying we're always going to talk about the heritage, the craftsmanship, and the Scandinavian design. And in some way, all the stories that we do have to have at least one element, but if we are lucky, then all of them. And that was kind of like a guiding principle for us. So tell the story, just always pull back a heritage story, craftsmanship story. And then even though it was a modern design jewelry thing or something.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, not being so scared of not doing something polished. I mean, some of the episodes we did for that big thing, for instance, were some of the things where we realized it couldn't be done the way we thought it could, or we didn't know what was on the backside. We only had a drawing from 2 angles, and it was like, so, and people were just, say, what are we going to do here? And people came with suggestions and so on. So I mean, it's okay to show all the obstacles and your fails and so on, because I mean, that's good storytelling. So
yeah. And now when you come back to you setting up, help run in-house teams, do you do some kind of creativity coaching with them, or do you have like guidelines, or do you implement some creatives there?
Yeah, I do. So I also run a school at night that actually has nothing to do with this, but for 20 or 30 Wednesdays every year, I have this small content school, and we bring people in, not just our employees, but everybody in that want to join in. But yeah, I travel with different shows, so to speak, creative. So, I mean, just talking about why we do creativity, why we believe that we should challenge things and so on. And I also have like a toolbox of how to get started, how to come up with ideas, how to there are a few tricks I always use, try to combine things you haven't seen before or something like that. So yeah, that's what I do. I also join in sometimes and just draw on the wall to put up.
That's cool.
Because I mean, a lot of the things I can see with the younger people we have is afraidness or what do you call it? Difficulties with actually, coming out. And the thing is, I mean, my first 20 ideas are really bad. The next 10 are just slightly better. And then, but if I say the first bad ideas, then someone in the room will pick up and say, it's not that bad. Maybe if you did this, and his slightly better idea, I can put something on top of. And I mean, that's how it works.
It's like in music. You got to jam. You got to get it out of your system to get better, right? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And somebody else has to hear it. I mean, look at all the bands where the people, one guy breaks out, and it kind of loses that edge because they're not challenged. They're not, not somebody listening to it and say, I can play a better bass on that one, or let's do something different.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's really the culture I try to build. Don't love your mistakes, embrace them, put them up on the wall. I mean, it doesn't matter, we can take them down later, but that one bad idea on the wall will foster something and I always tell the employees and students or whoever wants to listen, it's really difficult to come up with 100 bad ideas in a row. If you keep going, something good will happen. Something will be that thing. They say, that's kind of funny. Let's maybe do this and that. So
yeah, I love it. Yeah, and bounce it off of each other. Yeah, but you know what? Talking about this and talking about your experience and your experience with handling ideas, handling creative processes, would you say there's a limit to what in-house teams can do or can achieve, or is there some tipping point where they need some creative injection from the outside or need to get challenged or something?
I would say no, but in reality, yes. I mean, there are great creative in-house teams, and we see at the moment these years more and more companies bringing in creative directors and actually building in-house creative teams. Yeah. in Denmark, we have the Danish television station called TV2, who just won Cannes Lions with an in-house team for building this tall Copenhagen bench that shows the climate changes. I don't know if you've seen it.
Okay, no.
So that's an in-house. That's an in-house team building something. So it is happening, but I also think that that's for very few companies that has enough task, enough demand for creativity that you could bring someone in. Otherwise, if you just bring one creative guy in, they will slowly die in that role. They will have to do other stuff that they're not really good at.
Yeah.
They will lose the edge, I think.
Yes.
So that's where I say go to a smaller agency, pick the creative shops where you can just buy the idea, and maybe you can handle the production yourself or bringing in something like that. So it's more like taking over the ownership of the creative process, not necessarily doing the ideas yourself. You can still buy those creative people. I would do that.
Yeah.
But not just, because if you try to bring the rock stars to the suburbs, they will probably lose it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So in theory, yes, there's no limit for how much you could bring in, but in reality, for most companies, I would rather build the engine room, the engine, having the workers, and then owning the process, and then bring in the experts.
Well, I think that's a very good image. It's like building a production studio, and you bring in the talent, the writers, the musician, whatever, and you have the whole lineup set up to produce it, publish it, turn it into successful sales and stuff. Okay, but
turning it into a win-win house. No,
100%. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No. Shameless plug. That's allowed on the podcast. Listen, for once, let's twist the page for one brief second. Just between you and me, is there any tip you have for those poor fellas still running an agency out there today?
I would say focus. I mean, I don't know the rest of the world, but in Scandinavia, a lot of companies are, advertising agencies are full service. So they claim to be able to do everything. And actually the companies that are really doing well is the specialist agencies. So just small creative hubs with, 10, 20 people who can just create those great ideas and sell that. I mean, it seems like we're giving away the creativity and the ideas and then trying to make the money on the production afterwards, instead of actually selling what's bringing in the value, which is creativity and the ideas. Mm-hmm. So I would say focus. But that said, I just saw a number from Denmark, and they said, it is the big agencies that makes the money. I mean, I think there's still room for both. But I would just focus on being creative and being that outside in perspective, coming up with those new ideas that they couldn't do before. That they couldn't do in-house. That's
Yeah, I love that. Maybe before we move on to the next to another topic, first, where can I get the book, and how do I get in touch with if I want to learn more, or if I want to set up the in-house thing? Where can I get in touch with you and your company?
Well, the book is, it's on Amazon. Mm-hmm. It's also coming out in German.
That's good.
Next week or this week? No, okay. I don't know, actually.
Well, let's see when we publish this. I guess when we publish this, it's going to be live, and I can add it to the show notes probably.
Yeah. So my German is not that good, so I had to have someone to rewrite it. But Amazon is the easiest place to find it.
Yeah. Perfect.
And we have a website called site.agency. But you could also just find, the first 30 pages from the book is available on winhouse.com. Mm-hmm. I'll put it in the show notes, so you Perfect. Can do it. Or they can just reach out, and I'll happy to help. I mean, we believe in sharing, so the book is a guide. If you don't want to talk to us, you can just read the book and do it yourself. It is pretty much all the things we knew up to that point that we put in. So from, how to set up workflows, how to look at tools, who to hire in at which stage, how to set up the organization to mirror how to set up the in-house agency to mirror the marketing organization. So if you are regional based, it makes a lot of sense to make a regional mirror of that. So you have, one point of contact for every region, or if you're brand driven. So there's a lot of really tips and tricks in there. I hope it's not meant to be an academic book. It was meant to be like a guide you could just flip through and find, tips and tricks.
And for what I read of it, it really works like this. It's fun to read. Also, little lovely illustrations in it. It's a good and easy read. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Cool. So I would like to talk a little bit more about you and your own creativity and maybe your own creative processes, because as you just told about your professional life story, so to speak, you started out in agencies, you have a lot of experience in different fields, you ran a company yourself, and you've been in different roles. And then I just heard you were playing music and you run a course, like 30 Wednesdays a year, which is quite a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah, and I just wondered, that's a lot of very different fields and a lot of different outputs. And I just wondered how you manage your own creativity, what inspires you, and what keeps you inspired.
Some of the things like the Copenhagen book and also playing a bit more music now is basically because my job is getting a bit more boring as a manager, or it was. A year ago. Now I'm moving back into the creative role. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a way to get away with doing creative stuff. Yeah. In terms of inspiration, that's one of the reasons why I do the school. I actually only teach one night, and then I'm just like the headmaster presenting, and then we have guest teachers coming in. So the best in the fields in mostly Denmark, but a few from outside, coming in and talking about a specific topic. And so that's where I learn. I have a lot of young people doing assignments and asking questions that that's just inspires me. So I'm always try to learn and try to pick up new stuff, where are things going, and it's an easy way to do it. I can also look out for talent. Are there anyone really really good that I should try to hire in? So that's that's the reason for the school. It was an opportunity, and it was just fun to do. Now I'm not, I just finished this season, so I'm not starting until next year. So I also enjoy my Wednesdays now, where I don't have to work.
That's amazing.
Then I would say for the first 10, 15 years, I was struggling, trying to figure out, I didn't have a method to come up with ideas. And maybe for the first, 18, 20 years, I was just working, but I didn't know how to do it. And then when we built this agency, I said that's not gonna work anymore. I have to figure out how to come up with ideas, how to challenge my brain to come up with new ideas. So now I actually read a lot about it. Went to a lot of schools, webinars and so on, people talking about creativity and methods. And there are a few really good ways to get me started. I love this very simple way that I call it the cross method or something like that, where you pretty much take two benefits. Let's say you have a company selling internet and you want to sell fast internet. So on one note, you write all the benefits of internet or symbols you can find. Let's say it's the Wi-Fi symbol, it's the Ethernet cable, it's a router or something like that. All the symbols or sounds or things you can come up with on that one. And then on the other one, you write all the things you can come up with that associates with fast. So, Jeopardy running, your chin's blabbing like when you're doing and then it's just combining. I mean, and that's it works really well. It's a really, really, really simple way of doing it. But when you have kind of a benefit and a product, I mean, look at McDonald's. They are experts in doing that direction. Look at their Halloween stuff they're doing at the moment, right? It's just coming up with ideas for brand symbols, logos, French fries, ketchup, whatever, and then something of Halloween on the other. And then you just combine. It may not be the best ideas you come up with, but it's really, really nice to get you past those first
it gets you
20
started.
ideas. Yeah.
I love that. That's a great takeaway. I love it.
Yeah.
And I also found out that if I looked at your Instagram and your website and everything, and I found out that and I thought that's kind of funny because everything you do is moving things in-house and focusing them and putting them in one place. And at the same time, if I look at the stories you tell and everything, it's always about going out and traveling and moving a lot. So this is it's like a counter reaction to that maybe. So I just wondered, does that play a huge role in your creative life also, to get inspiration, to get new ideas?
Yeah. I love to travel and, going places like that where the culture is a bit different, like Japan or just France or something, where they have like a different creative culture, like South of Europe. Just the way it's more emotional, the way they work in the South of Europe. So just buying magazines or looking at art galleries and so, I mean, everything can somehow trigger things. If you just sit and look at the same computer screen every day, it's really difficult to come up with something new. So I try to get out there. I love to go climbing. And when you climb, I mean, you can't do anything, then you fall off. So it clears my mind a lot when you're out there in the woods and you're just sketching. So, I mean, everyday work is busy, phone calls and meetings and so on. So in the weekends or in the evenings, just get away and do something else. Otherwise, I think I would get too tired of
Perfect.
And then I think I have like some kind of mental illness. I always play with words in my head when people say something, or always look at a sign or a logo or something like that. So it's I need to work on that.
It's called the creative brain. I know it. It never.
It is. A lot of people have it. So, but sometimes I just wish you could shut it off.
You're not alone, Kasper. You're not alone. No. Well, that's perfect. I only have 2 more questions for you. 2 questions I ask all of my interview guests towards the end. And this is, first of all, do you have something that is really inspiring to you right now that you want to share? It can be a movie, series, books, creative habit, something that you want to share with us, with the sweet people.
I would say, I mean, everybody is talking about AI. So now I'm still staying in the advertising marketing land. But one of my friends, he just said this out of nothing. He said, do you realize that now this year was the last year that we could look at something on a screen and believe in it, because now everything is possible. So what I see, and I'm not sure it's a trend or it's just me that want it to be a trend, is move outside. So do something in the real life, make a big something in the middle of a square or something like that. People will stop and experience with, have an experience with or something like that. That would be my one thing, Everybody's doing AI stuff on the screen and all the pictures can be amazing and so on. Do something that people can work with. And we even, at the school, we have this principle called the acting idea. Something like the ring sizer. Instead of doing advertising, do something that can help people your customers or your customers in doing something. So do something that, I mean, it's still commercial, but it's just, instead of just showing them another picture of a model standing like, in a weird position or something, try to do something that can actually help them. Mm-hmm. That would be my other advice in that one. I mean, my main advice to the students is to shut their phone off, put it in another room, because it takes 5 minutes or 10 minutes to get in the zone again. And every time you pick it up, I mean, you just lose that. And it's really difficult to do something when you start over every time. So sometimes just lock it, put it away. It's not that important. I'm old. I managed my first, 15 years just having an answering machine, and it was fine. I got home, and if people wanted to call me, they left a message, and it was fine. So I think you could manage an hour or two without looking at it every second. And it sounds like I'm the old guy, but no, really
not at all. I mean, I also teach at a university in Berlin. And it's one of the things I also share with the students. It's funny, a lot of things I also talked on the podcast with the pen and paper thing, the move away from digital, or move away from digital inspiration, so to speak. Because I completely agree with you. It not only pulls you out, it also is the big danger of becoming a part of this creative, pardon my French, this creative circle jerk. You always look at other advertisings, at the same sources, and it becomes similar. It's like a genre featuring itself sometimes. So it's very cool to break out of it. I
totally agree. And I also think that's at least what I tell some of the employees is that, when you do something on the computer, you kind of fall in love with it because you spend time on it. Yeah. So, do a bad drawing. I mean, there's no limit to how bad it can be, as long as you can just tell what it is.
Yes.
Or you can write it below. This is, you can just write, this is I
love it.
And then move on. Get it out of the system. And because if you sit there and you find a great photo, or you go to Midjourney and write something, and you get you spent hours and hours on that, and you're not really getting more than one idea. Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with you, and I just taught a lecture on sound design the other day, and I always come up and show the students this perfect video essay, because some guy, I think it was Nerdwriter or some other creative video essayist, he put out a video about the downfall of Hollywood, especially superhero movie soundtracks, because this is exactly what you described for advertising. It's the same in the movie industry. You have a rough cut of a scene, and then you put some existing music and you put it under the scene, and you edit it for 30, 40, 50 times. You do test screenings, and people start to fall in love with that music under the scene. And then when it comes to really composing your original own soundtrack, you're just going to brief the composer like, okay, we need something that's basically this, and you put it side by side, and you have like really one-to-one copies of musical tunes by maybe Hans Zimmer or other classical movie soundtracks, and it's just a copycat thing. It's in a different key, it slightly changes, but it's because you fall in love with it once it has a certain look and feel to it. So I 100% agree with you that you should stay analog, and you put it with these gates in the interview before we just talked. And I think this is a perfect example. Just do the idea things and then shut it off, and then you go to the creative execution. Yeah. And then you bring in people who can challenge you on that part. 100%. So you get, it could be, I don't know what they call a prompt engineer, or it could be a photographer or something like that. But at least you know what the idea is, instead of you're sitting and waiting for something, to somebody else to do the idea for you. So, I think it's the same in music, that, it's always a danger when it looks or sounds too much like something else. Mm-hmm. You say, oh, this sounds like a song. Then it's probably because it's just really boring, or it sounds, I mean, if you know what I mean. But it already exists. Yeah, 100%.
It already exists, right? It's the same chords. And
Cool. Perfect. Well, Kasper, time flew by. We're already at the last question, and this is the same for everyone also. It's what's next? What can we expect of you or the Zeit agency, or is there a new book coming up? What's happening next?
Oh, I always said I wouldn't do another book, but I am kind of tumbling with some ideas on, the content side, and also this creativity thing that I haven't really. It's not. I mean, it's part of the first one, but really looking into how to work with creativity. So I think that's one thing. Then, I mean, we are in Scandinavia now. We are in Denmark, Sweden, Norway. I think we will try to get abroad, get out there. Mainly Europe, I think, and that's just. I mean, it's just fun to see something else, work with different kind of problems. So that's it. That's a bit the boring answer, of course, just more of the same. Fine. But I like that. Then I guess the Copenhagen book will expand. Some people have asked, could you do another book about other places? But this is my town, and that's kind of the charm. I think that it's. I know the things here. If I did it about another town, it wouldn't be true. So I think I will stick with Copenhagen.
That's lovely.
But just keep expanding.
That's perfect. That's perfect. We're looking forward to that. Well, Kasper,
or maybe something else. I don't know. You never know.
And that's the beauty about it. You never know.
Yeah. No.
Perfect. Kasper, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been delightful and insightful, and I think we all learned a lot.
Thank you so much for joining you. It was a really nice conversation, and good questions.
Thank you.
Make me wonder about things. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Take care. Sweet people, what a ride. I always enjoy listening back to the talks I host, because in the moment you can only fathom so much of what is said, of what ideas are floating in the room, and then going back to it, re-listening, editing. I think you really get the whole experience, and it was great having Kasper on the show. I especially enjoyed two moments. One was when he talked about his own creativity, illustrating the Copenhagen city tour guide, and also when he played music. Because, I believe there is a strong connection between different creative disciplines. If you learn your lesson, if you have an insight playing music, if you have an epiphany writing something, directing something, I think you can translate this into other creative fields. And I think it's a privilege to host this, and also for you to listen to all these creative experiences, see these creative life stories, and extracting all this knowledge, all this wisdom, because I can use it for my studio, for my other creative endeavors. You can use it for your brand, definitely. Strategy as well as creative outlets like brand communication, marketing, storytelling. You can use all these lessons for so many different fields. I really enjoyed that. And the other thing that I really liked is that he challenged me. Kasper challenged me in a very friendly way. But of course, I work a lot with in-house marketing teams, with my clients directly. They work with me as a partner, long-term relationships, but still I'm an external service provider. I'm like a satellite helping you with creativity, with strategy, all these things. And he is a strong believer in in-house marketing teams. And as you know from the talk we had, there are limits to what an in-house team can do, and there is a very good place and time for professional creatives to come in from the outset, but still in a friendly and cooperative way. I felt challenged, and I really enjoy this, to not only have talks where you completely agree, where you can easily take away things from for your own work or your own life. I also like the challenge from time to time. So yeah, this gave me something to think about a bit, where I can even sharpen my position in the market, where I can be of service for all the marketing teams. So, long story short, sweet people, if you enjoyed this, thank you for watching, for listening, wherever you consume this podcast. I'll be back in 2 weeks, either with a creative coffee break, where I dive into some of Los Angeles design and brand cases, or I'll be back with another episode, another interview. let's see. I'll keep you posted. If you want to listen to all the episodes, you can do it wherever you get your podcasts, or on sweetspot-studio.com. This is where you also get in touch with me if you're looking for help with brand building or design, or you want to experience a workshop or coaching in the studio here. Let me know, reach out, and let's see where we can take you and your brand. With that being said, thank you so much. See you back around with the next episode. And until that, stay sweet.
This podcast is produced by Sweetspot Studio. New episodes each week, wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you enjoyed the show, leave a rating and subscribe to never miss an episode. Find out more at sweetspot-studio.com.